This week we are doing a photography boot camp to learn the basics of focus and lighting. Quick word about equipment. Use the best camera that you have access to for your photography in art class. You might have a smartphone or a tablet or a digital camera. We know you all have Chromebooks, so this lesson is designed for Chromebooks, but just know that using your best camera is going to give you the clearest photos, and it's also modern technology is much better at helping with lighting scenarios. Focus is how clear a photo is. Taking a clear photo requires the camera to be steady and still. Photographers often use a tripod or rest their camera, hand, or arm on a stable surface like a wall, a tree, a table, the floor to reduce the shakiness of the hand. Here are some examples of how people steady their camera. So they first set up the camera to reduce any shakiness. They might use a tripod or even a stack of books. If you're using a Chromebook, you can fold your Chromebook or laptop to the best position to get a good photo. That might be in tablet mode, that might be folding it backwards. They lean the camera or our own hand, arm, body against something steady like the wall or the floor. Another really important aspect of photography is lighting. Lighting is really everything in photography. Light has a direction, it has a strength, and it has a color. When I say direction, I mean the direction that the light is coming from, where the light source is. It could be from the side, it could be up lighting, in which case the light is pointing up, or down lighting, where the light is coming down on the subject, could be coming from multiple directions. Lighting also has a strength. Oftentimes you'll hear somebody refer to lighting as hard lighting, or direct, or soft, or diffuse lighting. Lighting also has a color. There's a big difference in the quality of light when we're talking about a fluorescent light or the sunlight, and light on a cloudy day versus light on a sunny day, or light in the morning versus light in the afternoon. Here are some examples of lighting direction. Looking at the images on the right, there are 4 pictures of the same child. On the top left, there is what's called front lighting. It flattens the image and it's a very flattering light, but it doesn't show a lot of shadow. In the next one to the right, you see down lighting. The light source is pointing down at the subject. On the bottom left, you see side lighting. This is a very dramatic type of lighting as well. You can see the light on one side of his face is really light and the other side of his face is cast in shadows. And on the bottom right, you see up lighting. This is a lighting technique that's used to oftentimes create tension in the viewer. The last lighting I want to show you is backlighting. In the other photograph, you can see the lighting is coming from the back of the subject. Usually professional photographers will use multiple light sources to get their lighting just right. When you hear someone talking about hard light or soft light, what they're really talking about is the strength of the shadows that are being cast. If you look to the left, the hard or direct light, it's casting a really strong shadow. The shadows are sharp and you can see a lot of details. You can even see through the glass bulb. On the right is soft lighting or diffused lighting. That light is casting a light and soft shadow. You can barely see the shadow in the area of the glass and just a little bit of a fuzzy circle where the base of the light bulb is. Here's an example of hard direct light on the left and soft diffuse light on the right. On a sunny, clear day, the sun is casting a really strong shadow on everything it touches. On a cloudy day, which we have lots of in Seattle, you can see that the shadows are much softer because the light is actually coming from many directions, not just one direction. When we say the light is bouncing around, whether in a cloud or using a screen in a studio, we say the light is diffuse. The last thing I want to talk to you is about color in lighting. You can see these 2 photographs on the left. One has got a very cool white lighting. The other one has a very warm, almost yellowish peach colored lighting. When we see those 2 different colors, we think about different times of day. We think about different environments. Maybe one is outdoors on a picnic table and maybe one is indoors at a kitchen table just as the sun is rising. To the right, you'll see a scale. This is what photographers and scientists use to measure the color temperature of light. They measure it in kelvins. At the top, you'll see a clear blue sky gives off a really bluish cast of light. At the bottom, you see at the 1000K is the light from a fire, which is deep red and orange. And there are lots of other lighting situations somewhere in that spectrum. So here is your goal for this photography boot camp. You are going to learn how to control focus and lighting in photography. And by doing that, you're going to take better photos and more interesting photos. Our process is going to look like this. First, you're going to choose an object that will be easy and interesting to photograph. Then you're going to take many, I mean a lot of photos of this object. You're going to change the direction of the light, the strength, and the color of the lighting. You could even try to use a backdrop or a setting it into a scene. Once you've got a lot of photos, you're going to choose your best 6 to share with the class. It's really important that your best 6 are in focus and that your best 6 should show different lighting directions and strengths. Now we're going to look at a few examples I did of a little wooden Balinese cat that was a gift. A few showing you how I can set the object on a table and adjust the camera on the Chromebook to get just the shot that I want. In this one, I'm using a piece of paper as a backdrop. Here's a finished shot of that cat with a backdrop. Here I'm using a t-shirt propped up against a pillow and my Chromebook is sitting on some books so I can get the camera the right height. And here's a finished shot of that. Both of these examples are using natural daylight on a cloudy day, so we're getting very diffuse, soft lighting. Later in the day, the sun came out, so I decided to take some shots trying to capture some very hard shadows and hard lighting. Here's one on my carpet. I wanted to continue playing with backdrops, so I found a glittery box to set behind this cat, and I set him on a reflective surface, which I thought ended up looking pretty cool to see the cat's reflection. Later, I set up a photo shoot in my bedroom that has very low light so I could turn the lights off to a dark room. When I turn the lights off, I can use another person's phone at my house as a light source, like a flashlight. And I can use up lighting and side lighting to create some really dramatic effects. I think these are my favorite photos of the bunch. I especially like this one because the cat's shadow is sort of angling up to the right, which to me makes me think it's kind of scared or surprised. Last, there's this little close-up of one I put in a houseplant to sort of set it into a scene. You can see the sun is out now and it's casting very hard light on the leaves behind it and creating some very sharp shadows. Here are some examples of some Star Wars figurines using a monitor as a backlight and using several screens to create colored lights. You can see some from head on, some from below to create a sense of drama. Here are a few very close up and over the shoulder to make you feel like you were actually participating in the scene. And here's one where the photographer actually put something on the monitor behind the characters. And here's a photograph of what that setup actually looks like with 2 monitors, backlighting the scene. The last thing we're going to do is to look to see where our photographs are on our Chromebook. So if we click on our files and go to downloads, that's where our Chromebook is going to store all of our photos. I'm going to suggest making a new folder in our downloads and calling it Photo Bootcamp or something like that so we can put all these pictures that are the same type in a folder together. Then I'm going to click and I'm going to hold the Shift key and I'm going to click the entire bunch. By using the Shift key, I can grab an entire bunch of files and I'm going to drag it into Photo Bootcamp. So now everything's inside that folder. I'm going to drag that whole folder over to my Google Drive, and that's going to take it off my Chromebook and put it into the cloud, so it's going to be very easy to use with Google Slides or any other type of online platform that I want to share my photography. Next, I'm going to open up Chrome and I'm going to go to my Google Drive and I'm going to click the plus sign and make a new slideshow. Once I have the slides open, the first thing I'm going to do is give it a name that's going to let my teacher know whose work this is. So I'm going to call it my last name, McKinney, and I'm going to then call it what it is. It's the Photo Bootcamp. Next, I'm ready to add a few slides. I'm going to use 1 photograph per slide, so I'll have a total of 6 slides of photographs and 1 slide for the title page. I'm going to choose a blank slide, and then I'm going to go I'm going to click the icon at the top with the little picture on it, and I'm going to go down to Google Drive, which is where I stored my folder, and it's going to say, what do you want to put in here? It's going to pull up the recent files, and it's actually grabbing those straight from my folder, so I can then scroll through them and click on them and insert. If I'm happy with that, then I could go back and click the little plus sign there and add a new slide and do the exact same thing until I have 6 photos in my Google Slide presentation. If I want to share this presentation with anyone, instead of turning it into with Google Drive or Canvas, I can click the share button and I can manually add people to share with. You may be asked to turn it in via Canvas or via Google Classroom, in which case you're not going to be sharing, you're going to be using the turn in option in those learning management systems.